Dun dun dun. We're back with another episode of Lost in the Dark podcast. Here in the crypt tonight, once again, is my sister Grace.
Hello.
Woohoo! And tonight, is exciting because we're gonna talk about fucking. I mean, honestly, you are probably. It's weird because like when I was a kid, growing up, I was like into all the comics and stuff, and then when I got to a certain point, like in high school or whatever, I fell out of it heavily and stopped really being interested in it. I was still passively interested because Iron Man was coming out, Dark Knight was coming out. These were great movies that I enjoyed going to see. So but I wasn't really into anything deeper, outside of that. And then at almost the same time I discovered, no, actually it was a little bit before. It was a little bit, first thing that happened was you and Dad got me into Doctor Who. That was the first thing that happened. And then, which was crazy because you guys, I didn't know what it was at all. I just had this weird image of it in my head that was totally inaccurate. I don't know why. And then one day you guys were watching the Pandorica episode. And I saw the scene where he was giving the speech. And I asked what movie this was because the production looked so high, like I couldn't imagine it not being a movie. And you guys said, no, it's Doctor Who. And I was like, all right. So I started watching that. And then not long after that, I discovered Kevin Smith podcasts. And in a big bad way, like hearing him talk about all the stuff that I grew up with such passion and then teaching me stuff about it, teaching me stuff I didn't know about it because when I was into it, I was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. I was a kid. Got me back into everything in a big bad way. So you're in a big part to blame for all this.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're deep.
Yeah, I think I have no clue how many years. Probably like 6 or 7 years ago. Dad, back when video like return stores were a thing.
Rental stores.
Yeah, rental stores. We had one video to go, legendary place. I miss it every day. And Dad was trying to convince me to like something with him, and so we checked out some copies of Doctor Who Series 2, Series something, Matt Smith's first season.
5.
Yeah, and we watched that, and then I went back and watched Eccleston and David. And then I just kept going. We watched all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. We watched all the Marvel movies up to that point. So I just kind of fell in this hole. And now I own the DC and Marvel encyclopedias. And I went to the comic book store today. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Nice. Did you get anything?
I did. I got 2 copies of a series I shouldn't be reading.
What is it?
It's so dumb. It's just a Loki series.
What the fuck's wrong with that? That's probably what the damn TV show is about to be based on.
I hope so. This is going to mean nothing to you, but on the off chance someone listening knows what this means, I started following the modern Loki storyline with Journey to Mystery back in 2015. Kieran Gillian, I think, was the writer of that.
Not Karen Gillian.
Not Karen.
Okay,
no.
okay.
I don't know how to pronounce their first name. And then I followed it through with Agent of Asgard, Young Avengers, to War of the Realms, 10th Realm shut, and now they've got their own series again. So I'm trying to keep where I'm hoping it's gonna like be derivative of the show because there's been some good stuff.
That's sweet. Okay, well that's a good segue into. We've got some. I want to start off. I guess we'll talk about the Marvel announcements that have been happening since San Diego Comic-Con and now since D23, the Disney Expo. First off, we have the announcements from Comic-Con, the official Phase 4 list. And now look here, it goes, that one's first, and then it goes to that one. It does that, okay? So Black Widow is the first in Phase 4, and it comes out when?
It comes out May 1st, 2020.
So next year.
Next spring, yeah.
Which is crazy because I thought, for some reason, first of all, I thought that was going to be a show. I didn't know that was going to be a in theaters movie. So it surprised me off the bat that we're actually going to get a movie next year. I thought next year we weren't going to get any movies. And have you seen the trailer for it yet?
I haven't, because they haven't released it in the U.S. and I haven't gone digging for it. I heard it got released.
No, it got released at Comic-Con.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it yet then.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like Marvel doing like a Jason Bourne movie,
like a
spy
movie,
thriller. Yeah. It looks pretty good though, but I feel like there's a lot of places they could go with it in terms of filling in some interesting backstory. And that's something I want to point out.
To be real honest,
minute.
I feel like her Scarlett Johansson's character kind of got screwed over for so long in the movies. She never had her own movie. She was always in so many films. She was like with Nick Fury. She's probably in almost all of them.
Yeah.
And she was in so many, and she played like an important part in so many, but she never had her own. And she was always meant to be a mystery character, but they kind of, I feel like over the course of time, took away any mystery of her. So like by the time we see her in Endgame, like we're not like, who is she? We're like, oh, she's like depressed. And they like have her big sacrifice, but I feel like she was a character that always got overshadowed. So I'm interested to see, because they have to go back in time with it.
I mean, maybe she got I mean, in a sense, I get what you're saying, but she's like played such pivotal roles in so many moments in these movies that I think are overshadowed by the other events in the movies, but are also just often overlooked. You know what I mean? Like people just don't like always notice. Sometimes it's just a little thing, but people don't always notice like the little thing that she does that like completely altered the course of everything. You know what I mean?
I think they've got an uphill battle with this film, and that like, how do you make it relevant?
Well, that's just it. That's
already...
part of the point I was going to get at is some definitely.
You know, they've already done like the Hydra arc with Winter Soldier. So it's like that's not like
no.
I'm trying to think what they could surprise us with in this film, and I'm not really sure, but I'm interested to see.
Look, I think it says something that the last movie in Phase 3 was set in 2022, and then the next movie we get to see, the first one in Phase 4, is set in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this movie is going to play a pivotal role in setting up things like the Eternals and maybe even some other stuff that's going on.
Tell me if I'm wrong from the trailers, but I was under the impression it was like back in time, like
what?
Before her Shield days.
Oh yeah. This is her origin story.
Yeah.
This is her getting all the red in her ledger.
I don't know what that would set up. That's my concern.
They're gonna get clever with it. Like it's definitely not gonna be any. I mean, I'm sure they'll pull like main points from the comics, but then they'll what's it called, retcon?
Yeah,
they'll retcon them just like they did with the Mysterio origin story.
Yeah.
How they retconned that into the MCU brilliantly. So they'll probably do something similar with Black Widow. And what I personally am hoping is that they give us some kind of fucking introduction into the Eternals.
I think if we get an intro in that movie for anything, it'll be for more Winter Soldier backstory. Because in the comics, they cross a lot.
Ooh.
They have a whole history. And there is, I don't know if it's a deleted scene or not, or if it's actually in the movie, I can't remember. But there is a scene, I've seen it filmed and played on YouTube, from Civil War. Or not Civil War, something. Either Civil War or Winter Soldier, where Natasha's fighting Bucky and she recognizes him and says, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
And then she gets thrown to the ground and they brush it off and keep going. But
yeah.
like
I remember that.
So there's definitely
I've
some history there, and I feel like that's like would be the most interesting, but I don't know. I'm not a writer, so.
So, okay, moving on from Black Widow, the next thing to come out is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, and that comes out when?
That comes out fall of 2020.
And that's a series. That's going to be the first of the Disney Plus series.
See what they do with it.
And I am under the impression currently that it takes place post Endgame.
Yes, as far as I know.
So this will be back set at least in 2022 at the earliest possible time. And it will, I read today, I forgot, what are both of their real names?
The actors?
Yeah.
Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan.
Anthony Mackie said today that he will not be the next Captain America in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Well, okay, so what I've heard about the series, Because he was past the gauntlet.
Yeah.
No one's denying that.
He was given the shield.
What I've heard about this series is that it's going to be, obviously they'll follow their own arc, and they're gonna, Bucky's storyline will be, what's my past, how am I atoning, how am I becoming a person again, and the government probably still hates him, so he's also probably gonna have to deal with that. What I've heard about the Falcon's side of this is he was given the shield past the gauntlet, and while Steve Rogers chose for him to be the next Captain America, S.H.I.E.L.D. and the government and the UN and everyone disagrees. They see apparently a different candidate was waiting, or like they already picked someone else to be the next Captain America.
There is no more S.H.I.E.L.D. though.
I know, but the idea is that who has ownership, who has the right to claim the next Captain America. And what I've heard, and I don't know if this is completely true, but what I've read online is that a lot of the conflict will be between Falcon saying, I was given this is mine, this is my ownership of it, and this like sort of overseers being like, nah, we already picked our candidate, we've already had someone in the wings.
The only thing I don't like about Falcon being Captain America is he's not super strong, so he can't throw the shield like Cap can.
Anyone can throw the shield.
Not like Cap. You have to be a super soldier. Remember?
Yeah.
He had the serum. Falcon just has some wings.
I don't know. We'll see.
Bucky at least has a metal arm that can throw that thing and catch it.
Bucky is too broken to be Captain America.
That's the only thing, because I will love it when they throw that fucking shield.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. But I definitely loved every scene with them two in Civil War.
They have a great dynamic.
Yes,
and
they
the
have an
actors
awesome
off
chemistry.
scene have like a good friendship too. What I've
So
movies and
I'm
stuff.
definitely looking forward to this. I just don't fucking know what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a part of me really likes the idea of it being like superhero buddy comedy, like buddy cop comedy.
Absolutely what this is going to be.
It's just them screwing around, messing. I think that's be funny. I really hope they talk about or dig into the mystery of what was Cap's life, because I'm like, they can't ignore that. And if for anyone who knows this, maybe they get into some Patriot stuff. But I don't know. We'll see where that goes.
It's kind of interesting, because if this show deals with what you say in Falcon having to basically fight to keep the mantle of Cap, isn't that interesting? Because isn't that very similar to what we just saw in Spider-Man Far From Home?
I think it is definitely it's
another passing of the torch.
Yeah.
And now this is on the Spider-Man topic. And then think of what happened in the after credit scene. Spoilers, 3, 2, 1. When J. Jonah Jameson gets on the screen and reveals his identity. Huh. Okay, so consider this. We first see Spider-Man in Civil War, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he gets his own movie in Homecoming. And we get a little... It's just that movie is essentially... It's not an origin story at all, but it's a Spider-Man training story. He's training to be able to become Spider-Man, essentially. And then he gets passed the torch between Infinity War and Endgame. Tony dies. He comes in. Now he's fully realized as Spider-Man. And people are looking to him to be the next Iron Man. So he's in that pivotal moment, right? When his identity gets revealed. So, what did Tony do when he was at his first pivotal moment like that?
He revealed his identity.
He revealed his identity. He looked at the crowd and said, I am Iron Man. Oh, I just put that together. The parallels.
Except Spider-Man has left the MCU.
Well, for now.
We gotta get him out of our system.
For now.
Do not count on Spider-Man. I don't know what kind of fucking retconning they're gonna have to do to explain that stuff away. They can do it.
No, they can't.
Yeah, they can.
No, you can't.
Yeah, you can. It's a comic book movie.
Okay, you can, but you can't make it good.
No,
if Sony,
it can't be good.
If there's another Spider-Man movie that with Tom Holland and Marvel has nothing to do with it.
It will be boycotted. It will fail.
It will fail.
And once it fails, they'll go back, but by then it'll be too late.
It will fail horribly. Nobody wants that. We all do want Tom Holland as Spider-Man. We all want more Spider-Man, but we want these stories to be told by specific people in a specific context.
My prediction will be Sony does that movie, it fails. Because, say what you will about Marvel fans, crazy bunch of people, but they are committed. They get what they want.
We know,
and they won't show up to that They won't show up to that movie
because we know it's good.
And that movie
Jesus.
will fail. Sony will go back into negotiations with Disney. And my guess is that on some level, the writers are aware of this back and forth. And I bet you the writers are just going to say silence on Spider-Man. And then hypothetically, if all goes as I expect it to, after that movie fails, Sony goes back in negotiations with Disney. Disney gets Spider-Man back. Then Spider-Man, Nick Fury pulls up one day with Spider-Man saying, I had to take him into hiding after his identity was revealed because it wasn't safe. But he's back now.
Oh, that's smart.
And they explain it. And then maybe they do a movie of the time Spider-Man was gone in space or some shit. But that's my guess on how this will proceed. I really do think they'll get him back. I think all else fails, Disney buys Sony.
Yeah, I think they get him back. I think they have to get him back. Like, you can't... Yeah. You just set up so much, and you just gave us possibly the best Spider-Man movie ever made. Like, let's be real. Like, Far From Home was incredible. So...
I mean, we can't be judges of the future. So next up on the docket...
Well, hold on, though. I will say the only situation where I'll go see Tom Holland on screen as Spider-Man that has nothing to do with Marvel is if he's fighting Tom Hardy as Venom. Because Sony's Venom I liked a lot.
I never actually saw it.
And Tom Holland, he kills everything he does.
I just don't think it's... they have to recast if they make a movie.
The Venom movie had some pacing issues, I felt, but overall, for what it was, I thought it was very good.
I just think they would have to recast Spider-Man if they did it, because it doesn't make sense to me how they would use Tom Holland.
There's a giant shift going on right now. Nobody really knows what the fuck is going on.
Very few rules comic book movies follow to a T, but I feel like reusing actors like that is one of them.
Well, one of the articles I read is that the script for 3 and 4 were already in production with Tom Holland, and that's what Sony is gonna just move forward with. That's what I read, but I don't think anybody really knows anything right now, honestly. Yeah. So, But yes, next up on the docket. What is next? Is it that one or that one that comes first?
It is Eternals.
Eternals comes next.
November 8th. It's looking like 8th, 2020.
So next year. We get Black Widow and Eternals in theater.
Yes.
And we get Falcon and Winter Soldier on TV.
Yes.
Now, I mean...
What do you know of the Eternals?
Virtually nothing, because all I know about them is that it was actually wasn't it only like a 20-book series? Like, it was like a short run. This is like a deep cut short run.
Eternals. Okay, so the OG was a short run.
Yeah.
Eternals is weird because it wasn't a long run, but because of what they are, they're very connected to other things within the comic universe, and they pop up from time to time.
I know they have something to do with the Celestials, which we got to look at in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Do you know what the Celestials are?
Aren't they the ones that did something to do with the Infinity Stones?
Yeah. So I think, don't quote me on this.
They didn't create them.
No, they did not create them. I don't think the Infinity Stones were created per se. I don't think that's.
Or created by the universe.
Yeah. The Celestials essentially are like personifications, kind of. Let's see. Yeah. They are a race, and they're just sort of like these huge deities. Like, I don't want to say deities because they're not looked at as gods in Marvel canon, but there's just these big, powerful things that exist.
Right.
And they encompass a lot of different ideas. The one I care about the most is called The One Above All, which I can talk about later if you're curious. But the basic thing you need to know is that they're these big, powerful things that exist in the universe. And everyone, they're, known to exist. And everyone's just yeah, that's a thing that exists. And they don't really, they kind of leave them alone. They have the mystique of being almost godlike.
Okay.
Like they're kind of
it showed
understood.
in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when we saw them when they were with the Collector, they showed one destroying like a whole planet.
Yeah.
It was like a giant purple thing.
So the Eternals. What the Eternals are was way back, like early human history. The Celestials pulled up to Earth, or at least some of them did, and they did experiments on a small group of human beings. And they gave them some of this cosmic power. And then they were like, well, we'll let you be for a bit and come back and see how that went. So that's what the Eternals are. They were created by the Celestials. And they were essentially, it's kind of like an Inhuman situation, if you know what Inhumans are. And they were just sort of given this power and then let to sit still. And so they have all sorts of different varying powers. And this was early human history. After the Celestials come back, there's sort of a fight with the Celestials. A couple of them die trying to like take down essentially a Celestial. And then they're left to be on Earth again. And I don't know that much about them, but from my understanding of what I read, they are immortal. They don't age. They're just this group of people. And at some point, their memories are wiped in modern day. And they're slowly like waking up. I believe is what I understood from the comics of what I read. Their memories were wiped when they were placed back on Earth. So they left Earth sort of after. And they came back to Earth and their memories are wiped and they're waking up. And my guess for the movie is that that's where we're going to pick up.
Yeah.
Because that makes the most sense of how they could introduce
Absolutely.
this powerful group of people without them already been involved.
Right. Having
So-
been involved in everything that's happened on Earth already. Jesus.
We're going to see Rob Stark.
Which is the same.
Probably working as a businessman in an office somewhere. And then he wakes up one day and he has these powers.
Which is the same issue that they face trying to bring in the X-Men.
It can be done. That's all I say.
Oh, it can be done. It's just an issue.
There are ways. But that's what the the Eternals, are. The thing about the Eternals that like makes them interesting, there's a lot of them. They're different. They do have a history of, they were in space for hundreds of years, for most of human history. After the kind of prehistoric stuff with the Celestial went down, they all left Earth, went to space to chill for a bit, come back, and then their memories are wiped.
Okay.
And so it's possible after Thanos' snap or something like that, they come back and that's when that happens. Or I don't know how they'll stage it or whatever, or even when it'll take place in this kind of continuity. It would be interesting to see how they do that. But I think the thing they're very well suited to introduce new things into the universe. Celestials have a huge connection to the Greek pantheon in the Marvel comic universe. I don't remember any of their name. Athena was the leader of the Celestials after the leader of the Eternals after the war with the Celestials, and she actually married into the Greek pantheon.
Oh yeah, isn't that the parallel? Like the like Thor and Asgard are like the Norse gods in Marvel, obviously, and then the Celestials are the Greek gods.
The Celestials aren't Greek gods, and neither are the Eternals, but they're connected to them. The Greek pantheon
Right.
exists like the Norse pantheon exists,
Right.
and they're connected to them. And a lot of people really like Hercules. I don't know. I always thought he was a boring character.
But Hercules has never been in Marvel, has he?
No, he has.
He has.
He was one of, like, when the Avengers started, he was introduced into the Avengers lineup pretty early on.
Oh, wow.
Back in, like, the 50s or 60s, I think.
Oh, shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was a big player for a while. If you ever, and you should, I think his name's Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, I love Patton Oswalt.
Famous rant on Parks and Rec. He did his own scripted rant. And he
Where in the episode about changing the Pawnee Charter.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that episode. That rant where he's like, and this will be our bridge from the Star Wars universe to the Marvel universe.
Yes.
Yes. I love that.
If you find an uncut version of that rant online, which it exists, and it's a lot longer than it is in the episode.
No fucking way.
Yeah, it is. You actually see all of the characters
way.
walk out, and you hear him finish, and everyone's laughing hysterically by the end. It's great. But if you listen to his uncut version of the rant, he brings up how Hercules should be in the Avengers lineup, and the fact that they haven't brought him in yet is ridiculous.
Oh my god, I need to see that
it's
shit.
A piece of beauty.
No, Patton Oswalt is, I fucking love him. So I love him so much. Like, I remember when I was introduced to him, he was on King of Queens back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and with Kevin James and Leah Remini. And fucking, yeah, I loved him on there. And then I found out, I saw some of his stand-up, and I found out he was all into this stuff, and I heard him on some podcasts talking about it all and everything. Yeah, no, he's one of the OGs. He's one of the best, yeah.
Yeah. But I think the Eternals, I think the reason they're doing them is because they can't do X-Men yet, to be honest. And they want a new group, and they can't do Fantastic Four yet. I don't think do they have rights to Fantastic Four?
Yeah, they got Fantastic Four.
Wasn't that a Sony product too?
It was Fox.
That was Fox? Oh. Wait. Okay. Well, anyway, I think that they're not ready to do those other things, and so they're like, what else can we do? And they said the Eternals is what we can do. And that's why they're doing them. And they are a good branching point to talk about more cosmic stuff or other kind of things. So that's my guess of what they're going for there.
Okay. That's interesting. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's just, the big news about that today is that that's the movie that Kit Harington will be in. Yes. Jon Snow.
They slowly recruit all of the Game of Thrones cast.
Yeah, they do that a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
Someone should keep a tally how many of the Game of Thrones cast members have made appearances in Disney products.
I mean, it's pretty amazing just the full how many how it's always amazed me how they pull their casting. Like, it's so amazing how it ends up. But if you like, I watched a video on Facebook yesterday that showed like 15 actors that were almost in Marvel movies, and they ended up turning it down or not being in it for whatever reason. So a lot of the actors that we see in these movies are not necessarily the first choices, but when we see them in these movies, there's no other choice. You know what I mean? No one else can play Ant-Man.
I understand that.
No one else can play Captain America. No one else can play Tony Stark. Like, these are no one else can play Thor. These are very, just like no one else can play Wolverine, even though they will. Like, these are very specific. Like in the polls, like Chris Evans, you know what I mean? Paul Rudd, like Scarlett Johansson, you know what I mean? Robert Downey Jr. These polls are just, they're looking everywhere. You know what I mean? They're not looking in just one specific category of stuff that people have done for their casting. They're going everywhere. Do you know Tom Cruise was almost Iron Man?
That would have been interesting.
It wouldn't have been Robert Downey. Well, that's what the studio wanted, but Jon Favreau was like, no, it has to be Robert Downey Jr.
I think part of the magic of like what they do, and Kevin Feige recently went on record, this was before the D23 stuff came out, but he went on record about how they're going to start going farther away from comic book continuity and like comic book rules. They said we've tried to like keep in tune to some level with like what happened in the comics, keeping it true. And he's like, I'm gonna do less and less of that going further. And it was kind of an FYI. He was like, just to let you know, we're not gonna stick to this as much. We're starting to do our own thing, which I mean is like understandable. I mean, they don't have access to what they do in the comics, and so they have to do their own thing.
It's not only understandable; it's amazing. They've essentially retconned it to the point they have now. And B, it's understandable in the context of, you know, like the first chapter, the first book is closed. You know what I mean? Like it will never be what it once was. And now we have to get used to something new.
The thing about that, I think, is like part of the greatness of it is that if we're honest, most people have never picked up a comic book that are walking into these theaters. Most people don't, and maybe they do afterwards, which is great. But a lot of people see these movies without a comic book history.
Well,
I would say the mass majority. Think about Spider-Man made $1 billion.
Yeah, but
majority of those people didn't see the comics. But I'm saying is,
I don't know about that though, because you got like when you have someone as old as me and you have been going to the movies since 2001. You know what I mean? Like, I've read comics.
I know, but I would argue the majority of viewers.
I would say you're probably right, just because of the sheer volume of people that go to these movies.
I think part of the potential there is that when you haven't had so many people read the source material, you have more options to do what you like. So like they don't have to stick to the way characters look per se.
Wow.
No, but I'm saying like in the Game of Thrones movie or books and like the Harry Potter books, when they casted actors that didn't look like they did in the books, people got pissed. In the comics, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're not as stuck to things.
Well, what do you mean
They have
by
much more flexibility. I'm just saying because it's not a book, because it's comic books, and because comic books in general, I think more people don't walk in with necessarily history of comic books. I think they have more flexibility in their casting.
I mean, I don't give a shit what the actor looks like as long as they're wearing the right costume. Like that's to me where the fandom comes in, is as long as Thor has a cape on, I'm good. You know what I mean? As long as Cap has a shield, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like these specific things with these specific characters, you can't fuck around with the costumes. Like as much as I love the first X-Men movie, those costumes were just because the Matrix was big at the time. Like
I think that's true to an extent, but I think some costumes have to be left in the dust. I will argue particularly with the female superheroes.
Yeah. Oh, totally agree. But there are ways to, and this word keeps coming up now, retcon those comics into something awesome, like they already did with Captain Marvel.
I would argue the best example
and
of
Wonder Woman.
A horrid costume, like a hard to adapt costume thing. This is gonna be I don't think you watched. It's the Fox TV show Mutants. It was on air.
I didn't see that. No.
And it was Gifted. It was called Gifted.
Oh. I maybe saw like the pilot episode.
They did Polaris's headband, which is it's a weird thing to remember in the comics. But Scarlet Witch and Polaris wear these god awful like tackies like just random headpieces.
That's another one. Scarlet Witch's new costume in the movies is fucking dope.
I actually
the red
don't
trench
like it.
I like the red trench coat. I dig it.
The coat looks good because it looks like her cape.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
But I hated how they dressed her in Age of Ultron. They made her look goth.
Full disclosure,
Why?
I watched a scene from that movie the other day, and I realized how much I don't remember from that movie.
Yeah,
like I think I only saw it twice in theaters and never saw it again.
Definitely the middle child of the Avenger movies.
But it was still dope.
Yeah,
it was still pretty good. But yeah, no, like I get what you're saying in terms of that for sure.
But I'm just saying that I feel like they have a lot of flexibility of casting,
and I think they do. I think you're right about that. Yeah, I don't think there's absolutely. Yeah. And they should. They just absolutely.
But anyway,
because that's where we get these amazing castings. But what's next on the docket after Eternals?
Shang-Chi.
Now, when is this coming out?
February 12th, 2021.
Is this a series or a movie?
It's on the series side of things.
No.
But they have a specific...
No, it's not, because that's a movie.
Oh, okay. They have a specific date, though.
What's it called?
Shang-Chi.
Isn't there a subtitle, though?
Yes, there is. But
Shang-Chi and the
Legend
of the Ten Rings.
Yeah. Which should be an Iron Man storyline.
2021, Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios. Tell me if it is a movie or...
Shang-Chi, I don't know much about his character from the comics, to be honest. I didn't recognize his name when they announced this. I did a little bit of digging, and from what I can tell, it's going to be a kung fu movie. Kind of straight and forward.
Right.
The Ten Rings, I'm guessing, is a Mandarin reference.
It has to be. It's Mandarin and the Ten Rings.
And my guess is that they're going to do a real Mandarin.
Yes.
And that'll be that. And that Mandarin was traditionally Iron Man, but if Iron Man's dead, not going to use them, why not have Shang-Chi use them?
Are you familiar with Marvel Longshot, I think is what it's called?
No, I don't know what that is.
These are, you can find them on YouTube, and they are a series of not deleted scenes, not after credit scenes, but kind of in-between scenes. And there is a Marvel long shot post Iron Man 3 where it shows someone posing as a government official coming into prison to visit the guy that was posing as the Mandarin in the Iron Man 3 movie. And throughout their conversation, we learned that the guy who says he's a government official actually works for the real Mandarin. The real Mandarin is pissed about the imposter, and he's here to kill the fake Mandarin. So the real Mandarin exists within the MCU because of that long shot.
Identity theft's a real problem. Millions suffer.
Don't know though. It's not. Hold on a second.
I don't know. It's not huge.
You're right. It says it does.
But
this upcoming superhero film based on the Marvel superheroes of the same
and it's
name.
gonna be a kung fu movie.
But I don't know
1,000%.
who Shang-Chi is. Or
Yeah, he's a kung fu superhero, kind of.
I don't know who he is.
I think if you want to look at like thematically, more on the side of like a darker hero, I would say. He sort of is raised and like taught his ways, and then has to like confront his father in the comics, who's like is doing bad stuff, and it's sort of down that path. In the comics during Civil War, he teams up with Heroes for Hire, which is Luke Cage and Iron Fist, but they're all gone, so I don't think that they can really mix with him. If they decide to do a film...
When does this come out?
This comes out...
This is a film.
2021. If they decide to introduce Iron Fist, if they decide to save those characters, this would be their time to do it, though.
2021.
Yes. February of 2021, so early. But I don't know if they have
here's what
any
I know.
intention
Here's
to do
what
that.
I know about the Marvel Netflix deal is that since the deal ended, no characters could appear anywhere else for 3 years. Now, where does that 3 years start? Is it from 2018, which is when the deal ended, or is it from the time that the last Marvel character appears on Netflix, which was Jessica Jones?
It's gotta be Jessica Jones. That would make the most sense for the time to start then.
Not really. Not if the deal's already done.
Yeah, but if they're still producing product.
Well, it was already finished.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's still being released to the public. I feel like it would have to start from Jessica's time.
When is it in 2021?
February, early. When was
that
the
would
deal
be
announced?
Right on top.
2018. Do you know, like, what month or what season?
It was late 2018 that it was all coming out that it was over, I think. So it would be
it wouldn't match anyway, because that would be late 2021.
Yeah.
If it was a true 3 years, that wouldn't match.
But man, what a hell of a way to bring them in.
It would be cool, and they could easily do Iron Fist connections.
Yeah, like I don't get why they didn't just do Iron Fist.
Because,
you know, like it's just interesting to me. Okay, so the next the next 3 fucking Marvel movies that we're going to see in theaters, all 3 are an uphill battle. All 3. Well, no, not Black Widow. Wait, so that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 of the 4 next Marvel movies we're going to see are all uphill battles.
You think Doctor Strange is going to be an uphill battle?
Okay, so two of the next 3. I'm sorry. I keep fucking up. 2 of the next 3 are an uphill battle because these are unintroduced characters. So wait, when does this one come out? When is Eternals? That comes out next year. Shang-Chi is the first of the following year, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we have... Okay, I see what they're doing.
But they're going to have around the time of Eternals, around when Eternals is dropped, they're going to have Winter Soldier and Falcon. And those are characters we know and love.
That's what I was just going to say.
So they're kind of hedging their bets because they also know they're going to be producing products that people are still going to see.
Yeah, they're giving us a little bit of stuff we know mixed in with the new stuff. But Shang-Chi, I'm completely unfamiliar with that.
And I think that kind of works to their advantage.
Yeah, not going to be as many people harping on discrepancies, that's for sure.
But also, like, they haven't done a kung fu movie. And to be honest, there haven't been a popular Western kung fu movie in a while. A couple of years at least.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know where they're going to go with it. I'm interested to see what they'll do and how they'll take it. But I think it's a character that doesn't have a lot of kind of history in the comics.
Right.
He wasn't a huge character, in my opinion. Sorry if I'm offending any hardcore Shang-Chi fans. But he wasn't a huge character. And so they kind of get to, like, build their own. And I think this is kind of where, like, Feige's statement comes in of they, want to do their own thing. And they are stuck. They can't use any, like, half of the Marvel characters are X-Men characters. Half of them at least. X-Men is, between X-Men and Fantastic Four, they lose so much product.
And Spider-Man.
Between those 3 groups. And I will consider Spider-Man a group because of all his villains.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to adapt. And I think this is a part of adaptation.
Villains that include Kingpin.
Yes.
All right, so next up on the docket. Okay, so when Shang-Chi comes out February 2021?
Yes.
What's next?
Spring 2021. A couple months later, we have Wanda and Vision, a series.
You want to know what's crazy about this one? This is post-Endgame.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
I have a hopeful guess on how they'll do this.
Like, how are you going to have Vision?
Vision's want
dead.
House of X without any of the X-Men. Do you know what this is?
No.
Do the words "no more mutants" ring any bells for you?
I mean, besides seeing them on protesters' signs in the X-Men movies and X-Men comics.
So in the comics, Wanda's kind of a weird character. She's been retconned a lot. I do not approve of the recent retcon. Wanda will always be Magneto. No, in the comics. Wanda and Pietro will always be Magneto's children. I do not care what they did in 2016.
They changed that in the comics?
They changed it in the comics because of the movies. As a direct, many people, and they can deny it all they want, but I argue as a direct result of the movies, they changed in the comics. I call BS. I do not accept that retcon. Me and a large group of people do not accept that retcon.
I don't either.
Anyway, Wanda and Pietro, children of Magneto, fight me, Marvel. They, in the comics, because they're children of Magneto, there's always a lot of complications and whatever, and there's sort of this long story. I'm going to do it as concisely as possible. Wanda and Vision fall in love. They have kids via Wanda's magic. Because everyone's like, Vision's not organic. How's that happen?
A fucking robot.
Her magic happens. And everyone's like, okay, not going to touch that.
Yeah, it does.
Well, come on. Anyway, they have kids, and then the kids turn out to be not real kids, but quasi-real kids. They were real in a sense, but they were also like remnants of this demon who was trying to like destroy the Avengers. And so the kids die because the demon takes away these remnants. Mephisto, I think is his name.
Well,
the demon takes away these remnants. The kid dies. Wanda goes insane as a result. Because her kids, she just lost both. They were twin boys, Billy and Tommy.
Well, we saw... Put it this way, we saw how powerful she got after she lost Vision.
So she lost her mind after the kids are gone, and everyone was like, she's got to chill. And she started doing like bad stuff on missions and stuff. They're like, we can't take her out. Magneto eventually takes her away somewhere he thought she could be safe, but she's still losing her mind, and Magneto influences her in this time of weakness to create... Because at this point in the comics, her powers are growing exponentially. She's capable of doing things she never was before.
Magneto's basically got his hands on another Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, well, worse, 100 times worse, because I'll get to it. But he's influencing her, saying, wouldn't it be nice if your sons were alive in a world that we ruled, that we controlled?
Mm-hmm. And there's Magneto.
And he eventually convinced her to do this, and this is when we learn that Wanda has been given access to this thing in the Marvel comic universe called chaos magic, which is essentially reality warping powers. Fundamentally changing reality with your will.
So basically having the Reality Stone.
Basically having the Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh.
And so she creates this new world, and it's in the series, this very famous comic book series called House of X, where they are ruling as like this family. They're like the ruling family, and like if you're not a mutant, you're a second-class citizen. It's all that, and eventually it comes tumbling down because I think like Wolverine is the one who can see through it, and a couple others. And it all comes tumbling down, and Wanda, like everyone realizes what she does, and they break it. They break the spell essentially, and Wanda's devastated at the end, and she's so angry with Magneto for like manipulating her, and she has this kind of famous moment where she says, "You know what, Daddy? No more mutants." And there's this huge flash of red, and the mutant population decreased. Like 98% of the mutant population on Earth loses its powers.
Damn.
And it was this huge deal, and it took years to undo, and it was this it's super famous comic book storyline. I want threads. They can't give us that, and I acknowledge that, because they don't have the rights to do all of it. They don't have the rights to do most of it. But I would love to see threads of that, because that's the relationship with Vision. That's her children. Billy Kaplan, her children, Tommy and Billy, are eventually reincarnated on Earth, and they meet up with her because they track her down. And they're Billy Kaplan and Tommy Shepard, and they both are mutants on Earth. Billy has her powers, and they become huge members of the Young Avengers, which is something I'm convinced they're setting up. But long story short, that's sort of like the Wanda and Vision. That's their huge storyline. They never.
Well, where's Vision come into that?
Vision was her husband, and he was the father of these kids.
Yeah.
And then after this happens, as you can understand, they split up. And eventually, you know, her and Vision always have this relationship of like, I once loved you, but they're never really back together in the comics after that, as far as I know.
That would be a great storyline, but yeah, I don't
It's
know.
a very, very famous X-Men storyline. But they can't do it because they don't have X-Men.
I mean, you'd have to get some major players if you wanted to retcon it. Or I was looking at the everything coming out up to this point, trying to figure out if they could start interjecting X-Men, but I don't know how they do it with the previous 4 that are coming out before this. I don't know either. But that would be a great story. You're absolutely right.
Sorry for that mini.
But I don't know how. Yeah, Vision would have to be alive for that. So
I think the thing that makes the most sense is that she brings him back.
how?
Powers. Her powers are so like, you notice they never really truly explain what her powers. Like Maria Hill says it once,
Yeah.
but then also we see her doing all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah, and she could have killed Thanos.
Yeah, oh, she could have. And so there's this sense of we don't truly know the extent of her powers.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see her relationship with Doctor Strange. In the comics, her powers are much more mystically based.
Yeah.
She used a lot more magic.
Mm-hmm.
She does it in the movies, or at least hasn't yet. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm 100% convinced she'll bring Vision back somehow, and it'll be her doing. And Vision will be like, "This is screwed up. You shouldn't have brought me back." And that'll be the conflict between the two of them.
Yeah.
That's my guess for that.
Maybe. So
Speaking
what's
of
next?
Doctor Strange, Doctor
Yes.
Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, May 7th, 2021.
Now this is the next one I'm most excited for sure, because the first Doctor Strange is one of my all-time favorite Marvel movies. Definitely, for
It's
me.
Iron Man with magic.
It's essentially a Doctor Who episode. It has one of my favorite like ending sequences, like final battle scenes.
You just want
ever.
Cumberbatch to play Doctor Who.
Wow. It would be awesome. But
anyway, this movie's supposed to be a horror movie.
Right. That's what I heard. Marvel's taking it. So what does that mean? Like, what could that mean for the story? I
That's
don't
up
know.
to them. I have no clue what they're doing with this. The multiverse is well known. They've already introduced the idea of it, but they haven't confirmed it in their worlds.
I heard somebody else is going to be in this one too. Hold on.
I think that they have this Doctor Strange character who's a great supporting character. It's fun when he's on screen with others. He showed up in Ragnarok. He showed up in Infinity War and Endgame. But I think they also have, like, they're kind of like, Benedict Cumberbatch is an actor people will show up for, so what can we do with him? And this was their best guess. I think that's why this is a horror movie, is because they are not really sure what to do with him.
Yeah, Wanda's in it.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So here's the thing. WandaVision comes out, they say spring of 2021, and this comes out May. So I'm wondering if the series will precede Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, because that's what it shows on here. But because they haven't released those dates, we can't be sure.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see.
It will be interesting. It says, okay. Yeah, there's an article here that says how Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness could have began in Endgame, which makes sense, actually.
The thing that they won't do, but it would be really cool if they did, is if they made the whole movie like Doctor Strange screwing around with the multiverse, and he ends up in one of the multiverses where they didn't win. But it was devastating.
Yeah, like every other multiverse.
Because he saw them all, supposedly, or saw something. He ends up in the
however
worst
many million.
one. And he's like, well, what happened here? How do I get home? Because this sucks. But they won't do that, and I know they won't.
Anyway, I don't know where they're going with it, but I'm excited about it. And it'll be... I mean, maybe that's where we get... where we bring... I mean, if we're dealing with the multiverse, maybe that's where they bring in things like X-Men.
Yeah.
And Fantastic Four.
I don't want them to do it that way, but that might be the only way they can.
It does seem a little lazy.
It's hella lazy.
It does seem a little lazy.
They kind of have their hands tied. The only other thing that makes sense is that Theory knew about them, but he was like, we're keeping them off the grid. But And which is kind of true. Like, if you think about X-Men, they stayed quiet for so long, but it doesn't make sense after everything that happened.
Right.
That Professor X didn't show up and was like, hey, I can help.
Right. After New York.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense. And then especially Sokovia. And then, yeah, obviously,
So I
then
think
half the population, so half of his school disappears.
Yeah.
And they still don't try to do anything.
I think on some level, we're never going to see a full-on X-Men universe in the MCU. Like, I don't think we're ever going to get the extent or, like, the appreciation we do in, like, standalone X-Men movies of, like, X-Men fighting for rights and stuff like that. Because I don't think they can bring, unless they do something like they all showed up one day.
Well, you know.
I don't think they can bring that big of a group of people in without there being history.
Yeah.
Because
it would be, yeah.
And mutants are born all over the world at random.
Yeah, well,
they can't just hide,
well,
you know?
It's all about our three biggest mutants. It's Professor X and his relationship with Magneto, and the fact that Magneto was, you know, fucking concentration camps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then our other biggest mutant, fucking Wolverine, and how he has been alive since before the Revolutionary War. So, yeah, it's like, how do you
explain that away?
How do you
and you can't change
those
characters.
No, you cannot change
That's
those
fundamentally
backstories.
of who they are.
Now, yeah, you can't really change their backstories unless you go back in time in something like Black Widow or the Eternals, and
they're there.
Something, yeah, you show something like you retcon it in some, like you have it be the same but
my
different.
Struggle with that is there's no way in hell Nick Fury doesn't know they exist.
Right.
Because Nick Fury has to know everything.
Right.
And if that were true, why doesn't he also have a second pager that has an X on it?
Right. Which is what we all wanted to see. Right.
But, you know.
That's
I don't write for Marvel.
100% agree with that. Because
So
at the point, because now that we've seen Captain Marvel and we see that was a backdoor Nick Fury origin story.
If they really, really want to just screw with everyone, if that was their end game, pun intended, the most fun thing they could do is do a dark Professor X storyline with the X-Men and have it be that he's hidden them from the world with his psychic ability. That would be the most fun, in my opinion, the most fun thing they could do that would explain away problems. It wouldn't fix everything, and they would have to do probably some retconning, if I'm honest, to like fix it all. But I think they in the comics, especially recently with House of X, what's it called? Powers of X, I think is what it's called. They've done some kind of like, they've looked into more dark Professor X storylines, and they do exist in the comics, and there's a lot of them where he's morality-wise pretty dubious. And it would be interesting to see, like, he took control of the situation. Maybe they do have a history, like, back in, like, the 50s or something. The X-Men, like, did rise up, like they did in the initial timeline, and they were like, hey, we're here. And then it all went wrong, and Professor X wiped them from memory. And it would be cool in the Black Widow movie or something to see that happen.
That would be interesting.
But
it could
I don't
be Black
think,
Widow
no.
because she's not old enough, but it could be in Eternals.
I think Eternals is going to be modern. So I doubt.
I think it would be smarter than for it to be both. You
I
show
don't know.
them wake up, but then you have to show how they came to be as well.
Yeah, they'll be flash. But when I say like old human history, I mean like prehistoric time.
Yeah, that's true.
So they didn't pull up in the 60s, the Celestials, and like, hey, let's party. That's not how that happened. Anyway, next
is
the
Doctor
series
Strange.
I'm looking forward to, and it is spring of 2021, and it is the Loki series.
Now that is confirmed. Spring
Time
2021. It's confirmed time travel, and it's confirmed to, literally be the Loki from Endgame, the one that was just captured after losing in New York from Avengers 1 before he became basically a good guy.
Bye character growth.
Bye character growth, and now he is on the loose with the Tesseract.
So the important thing to remember here is that this all took place in a different universe. So that'll have to take place in a different universe.
Right. Like, literally, this is an alternate timeline, which is something interesting I saw earlier was, like, if Captain started an alternate timeline when he stayed back in time with Peggy, then how did he show up as an old person?
I have an answer for that. but it doesn't make that much sense. We'll talk about that later if you want.
No, go ahead.
It's just, so they went into this whole rant about how you can't change the past already. And I guess the suggestion there, it's the bootstrap paradox is the problem they're running into. Because it's a version of it. Because the suggestion there is that he always went back and he was always that old person. But there had to be a first, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're never going to answer for that because it's a paradox for a reason. But I think because I imagine because he was using the stones so directly, that manipulation of the stones could have easily occurred to make it true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, he had access to all 5
you know
stones.
what I want? I
6
want
stones.
the conversation between Cap and Red Skull when he returned that stone. What was that, Marvel?
Right, that.
He pulls up. He was like, "Oh, it's you."
And what did he have to re-inject Jane? Remember, Rocket had to get the Infinity Stone out of her, the sludge out of her. It showed Rocket creeping up on her with the spikes.
Yeah, he did.
So Captain America had to re-spike her?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
There's a
those
lot
scenes?
of those are scenes we're never gonna get, but they're always gonna be super funny to imagine.
Yeah, when he shows up, especially when he shows up on Voldemort.
I would love a series that it could be a mini series that they just throw on their YouTube channel of just like Captain America
long shots
completing that list of things they gave him in Civil War, Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
like Captain America watching Star Wars. Or like that, like the dumbest. Those would be hilarious.
Yeah, those would be good. That would be funny, actually. If they had done that, if they had done Marvel long shots of that after the movie and then had like Captain, well, no, because Spider-Man and Captain were separate the whole time during the war in Endgame, pretty much. And Spider-Man didn't make any movie jokes in Endgame. But he did make a lot in Infinity War. It would have been funny if Captain had gotten some of those. But anyway.
So yeah, but the Loki series, I think it'll be dope. We don't know much and we can't know much. I'm hoping it'll be more on the Agent of Asgard comic series kind of style, but we'll see.
Yeah. I heard about that. That'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the fuck that is because goddamn, like they clearly have a plan.
Yeah.
They clearly have a plan.
And Tom Hiddleston admitted he was like, I've known about this since before Infinity War. That this series was going to happen. Because it's so annoying because in all of the Infinity War interviews, he was like, oh yeah, this could be the last time. And he gave that sense of this might be it for me, guys.
Damn.
Like, I don't know. And he was like, oh yeah, I've known for years.
So they've been planning this forever.
Oh hell yeah. I mean, he's an expensive guy to get and he has to clear a lot of room in his schedule for these. All of them do at this point.
Well, I get that.
Plan
it's
ahead.
just that means they've known where this is going for much longer than I thought they did. Jesus Christ. Okay, so next one is the What If series.
Yes.
When does that come out?
Summer of 2021.
So
also, 2021 is going to be popping.
Those of you unfamiliar with the What If series, this was a series of Marvel comics they did back in the day.
And they redid
long
recently.
time ago. Oh, did they?
Yeah, they redid a bunch of What Ifs.
I didn't know that. But yeah, these are just stories of these are one-off stories of what if situations in the Marvel universe. So one of them, could be
I read one recently that was what if the Frost Giants had won the war and Thor was raised on Jotunheim rather than Loki being raised on Asgard.
Yeah, stuff like that.
That was
exactly. There was one. I think there was one famous one that had to do with the Fantastic Four where they had different powers or something.
What if they all switched? Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. It's fun. It's a series of one-offs, and these could be really cool one-offs, but they don't have any impact on the overall. They're one-offs, they're what-if stories.
This is their opportunity to write
and play.
Just have fun.
Yeah.
They've announced one of them. Did you hear about this already?
Maybe.
They announced the first what if.
What is it?
They said, what if Peggy got the super soldier serum? And that'll be the first what if they do.
Yeah, so female Captain America.
Yes.
That's sweet. Hell yeah. That'll be sweet.
And she... Oh my, if you haven't, have you watched Agent Carter?
No.
Oh, you should. It's good. It's kind of, I don't know if it's in continuity now.
It is.
It is?
Yeah, definitely.
Because of what Steve went back in time.
Well,
I think
yeah, fair enough.
I'm pretty sure they could still consider it in continuity because we don't know exactly when he popped up back in time.
Yeah.
But it's a good show. I think it was 1 season run, and it was a fun show. And the actress, I don't remember her name, but the actress who plays Peggy Carter is a fantastic job.
Well, does she ever end in the show? Does she ever end up in the house that they were in?
I don't know. I don't remember. I watched this years ago.
Mm.
But they have they have Jarvis, like the actual butler guy. He's in the show, and the same actor plays him that played him in the movie.
Nice.
They have it's not the same actor, but they have what's the Senior Stark, Tony's dad's name.
Oh, fuck.
Tony's dad's in the show, and he pops up a lot. And they have the Hauling Commandos, and they use the same actors from the first Captain America movie.
How am I blanking on this? Howard
Stark, yeah.
There we go.
So they have a lot of of those characters pop up, and so it's kind of cool.
That'd be good. I'm looking forward to the What Ifs just because I think it'd be fun.
The next one.
I liked those comics. But yeah, what's next?
Hawkeye, fall of 2021.
Is this a show or a series now?
It is looking like a series.
Okay, so Hawkeye's a series.
Okay, can I just say?
Is this going to be like his Ronin timeline? Is this going to be post-Endgame when he
Hawkeye-
gets his family back and he has
Hawkeye
to deal
in
with
the
Ronin?
MCU is the most disappointing thing ever.
Wow.
Because Hawkeye in the comics is the funniest shit you've ever seen.
Why?
Hawkeye in the comics is this human being that is an actual dumpster fire,
Oh,
but
Jesus.
is somehow a superhero and somehow functioning.
Oh,
The
Jesus.
best way I've ever seen summed up of Hawkeye is this one. It was in the first issue of Agent of Asgard, and it's Natasha walking on Hawkeye playing a video game, and he is crashing in flames from a skyscraper in the video game, and Natasha turns to him and said, "This is a fishing game. How is this happening?" And he was like, "It'd be like that." So he's an actual mess in the comics, and they made him all responsible, and he has a family in the movies, and I do not care for it.
Wow. Okay, well maybe this series will get him more into that.
Nah, we'll see. I don't know what they're going to do with this. A lot of people are saying Kate Bishop, but there's been zero confirmation of that.
Huh.
So,
Yeah.
Kate
I don't
Bishop
know.
is sort of the after Hawkeye, like Hawkeye, after he becomes Ronin, she sort of takes over that mantle, and she's also an archer. They're not actually related in the comics, but he kind of trains with her for a while, and sort of she helps him fix his life.
So maybe this won't even be our Hawkeye.
That's a real possibility.
Interesting.
I don't
That'd be
know
cool.
what Jeremy Renner is
That'd be
signed up
interesting.
for.
And now, so the final,
Movie, at least that we know of.
final chapter in Phase 4.
Thor, Love and Thunder.
Boom.
I hate that title. I'm sorry. I love his name's like Taika Waititi or something like that, like director. I love him. He did a fantastic job. Ragnarok was the best Thor movie.
Far and away. One of the best Marvel movies, period.
I don't like that title.
Yeah, it sounds like a song.
It
But,
sounds like an 80s smooth jam,
yeah.
which it might be.
And in this movie, we get Natalie Portman taking the helm as Thor.
Has that been confirmed?
Yes.
Or was she just holding the hammer
Nope.
and everyone's like, this is what's happening?
Nope, it was 100% confirmed.
Okay.
I don't know how they're going to do it.
I don't love
Are they going to kill Thor?
No, they're not going to kill him.
Okay,
They'll
so
make him
maybe he just
unworthy.
like kind of becomes Odin and she becomes the next Thor or something.
They'll make him unworthy. Or he already has like his own new hammer, so maybe they make her one. I don't know.
Well, he has both. Now.
Did he keep the other one?
Yeah, that's something we're not exactly clear on.
Yeah,
Where's
and so in
Mjolnir?
Loki's timeline, the Loki series, Loki timeline, then technically that Thor doesn't have a hammer.
Mjolnir, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
What the fuck?
That would suck if you're Thor in that timeline to just
Yeah.
wake up and be like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Where's my hammer?
Yeah. No, I guess, I mean, maybe like he gives her Mjolnir or like she gets Mjolnir somehow or she has to go save him with it or something.
So, I don't
I
know.
thought Natalie Portman had left the MCU.
Yeah,
before
everybody
this.
did.
So I
Everybody
feel
did.
like, I almost feel like they went up to her and be like, hey, we'll let you be Thor. Will you come back?
Which I don't really, like, no, I don't think so.
Mm.
Like, I think maybe, but I think the idea of bringing in the female Thor was before that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just think, so they did that in comics really recently.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal. But the thing about the comics, comics had two things going for it, the series they ran. And one was, it was led up to. Like, Thor lost the hammer. He became unworthy, and that was led up, and that was set up. And that was a whole arc that happened. And they haven't set that up, and they don't have time on the schedule.
They don't have time to on the schedule. And as a matter of fact, they just made a point in Endgame
to make him worthy again. The other thing that comic book series had going for it that kept it intriguing is that for the first 6 or 8 issues, we didn't know who the female Thor was. Her identity was hidden. And everyone was guessing. Thor didn't know. He was trying to figure it out. Everyone was trying to figure it out. And that was fun. And it was revealed to be Jane. And a lot of people guessed her, but it was still a surprise. But it's just, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it. And I'll go see it, but I'm not excited.
Definitely.
I don't
Thor,
know.
I mean, it's going to
be Thor without Loki, though.
It's also, well, maybe, because the Loki series comes first.
Other timeline.
Which, maybe the Loki series leads directly into this.
We'll see.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Could be.
We'll see.
But this is also the first time we've seen a character get a 4th movie.
That's true.
This is the first time. So that'll be very interesting.
Well, the other 2 are gone. The wood. Cap and Iron Man are the other 2 that would, and they're gone.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it in terms of announcements from Comic-Con. Now we move
D23
to D23. They announced the release date of Black Panther 2, which was May 6th, 2022, which is long. When does Thor come out again?
November 2021.
Yeah.
So that'll be a couple months later.
Black Panther will be the next one after Thor 2. Or Thor 4. Black Panther 2 will be after Thor 4.
Half a year later.
Yeah. That'll be the next one in theaters, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Based on, they usually go one early, one late.
I know that sounds so late, and you were telling me before we started, everyone was surprised how late it is, but looking at what they've got so much going on.
Yeah.
It makes sense them wanting to push it, because they've already confirmed these things.
Yeah.
And I bet you a lot of these were scheduled before, probably Black Widow through Shang-Chi was scheduled before Black Panther came out.
Yeah.
So they didn't know that it was going to be
probably
their most successful movie.
At D23, they announced 3 new shows. No new movies. 3 new shows, all in which taking place after Hawkeye. When's Hawkeye again?
Hawkeye is fall of 2021.
Fall of 2021. And if we're following with the same pattern, odds are the first one of these new 3 shows that they announced will be spring 2022, probably around the same time as Black Panther 2. First one of those is Ms. Marvel.
Do you know who Ms. Marvel is?
No, not really.
Do you want me to explain?
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Marvel, her name is Kamala Khan. She was an Inhuman in the comics, so again, I have no clue how they're doing her, because they have not introduced Inhumans. Inhumans are another type of human plus in the Marvel universe, and they're with Kree DNA, so with where Captain Marvel got her powers, those same people. Ms. Marvel is a Muslim teenager growing up in New Jersey. And she's an Inhuman, and this event happens that causes her to essentially get her powers and awaken. And she decides to become a superhero on her own. And it's very much a modern Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
She builds her own costume based on fabric she has in her room.
Okay.
And her friends help her be the superhero. And Captain Marvel's her greatest her role model. So she decides to take a name after her.
Awesome. All right.
And she's a kid. That's the big thing. She's in high school.
Yeah. And I like that. I think that works really well as a series.
Yeah.
I think this is a great idea. Nice. So the next one will most likely then, if we're following in order, based on the current timeline of all the others, will be fall of 2022. And it will be Moon Knight. What do you know about Moon Knight?
Very little, but I've got a feeling you know more.
Moon Knight is, a lot of people will tell you he's essentially Marvel's Batman. And in some ways he is. There are some very major differences though. As opposed to just being a rich kid who saw his parents die and grow up to be a vigilante, this Moon Knight was trained in the military. He was super high up in the military, and I can't remember what, but he did something that like he got left a fortune, or he had a bit like a arms business that made him a lot of money, kind of like Tony Stark or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but then he ends up becoming this Moon Knight the Vigilante after all that.
Sounds like a better Batman.
I mean, yeah, it's essentially Marvel's Batman is what a lot of people say. And there were even rumblings of Moon Knight being introduced in the Netflix series back in 2000. So some of the Netflix.
Yeah, I heard about. I
and
remember
Punisher
hearing about that.
a little bit. Yeah.
So does he have powers, or is he a guy who's
I
trained?
think he's just a guy that's trained.
It's a very
You know what?
mystical name to not
Yeah.
have powers.
Let's just double check that. Yeah, check your encyclopedia here, because we have access to these things. Moon Knight. Well, he first appeared in the Werewolf comic. That's kind of cool. Okay. So maybe he does have some kind of
here
a
he
power.
is.
Yeah. What is
A
he got?
mercenary left for dead in the Egyptian desert, Mark Spector was found by followers of the Egyptian god, I can't pronounce that, Khonsu, who saved his life and gave him superhuman powers. Returning to the U.S. with a statue of Khonsu, Mayer became a crime fighter calling himself Moon Knight and assuming two more alter egos, millionaire Steve Grant and taxi driver Jake Locke, aided by his pilot friend Frenchie and his lover Marlene. I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's French. Mark fought crime for many years, battling against Werewolf, Midnight Man, and Black Spectre, alongside Spider-Man and Punisher. Eventually exhausting and setting in, Mark retired his alter egos and sold Khonsu's statue. Before long, Mark felt compelled to travel to Egypt. There, the members of the cult Khonsu explained to him that being Moon Knight was his destiny, one he could not shrink, and then equipped by Khonsu with a new costume and a selection of special powers, Mark became Moon Knight once more. And then other stuff that doesn't matter. So, he's got powers.
Yeah. So he's got powers unlike Batman.
Egyptian powers.
Egyptian.
He looks cool. Like, it's a cool look.
It is a great look. I can't wait to see that costume.
It'll be interesting to see. This again, like, they've clearly been trying to play with different parts of the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've done a lot of Avengers, obviously. Avengers they've had success with. But they're like, we don't have X-Men, and what do we have that we can play with? And Moon Knight's another section of, like, the comic book universe that they haven't touched.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of that mystical they're trying to jump into with Doctor Strange and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a series?
That'll be a series, yep.
Okay. Have they casted anyone yet?
No.
Interesting.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But then next up in the final series, which will probably be then spring of 2023, She-Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, what is She-Hulk's big? Do you know?
She's a Hulk,
Her, like,
and she's
origin
also
story?
a lawyer. She was
Ooh.
in some way related with, like...
Holy shit.
She is, I think in the comics, she's, like, either the cousin of the Hulk or, like, got his blood or something for whatever reason. She's not as strong as him, I know that.
And it's a series.
But I think a lot of times, actually, in the comics, I think she's brought more in for her legal use than her actual superpowers.
Yeah, so this could basically be like a fucking Law and Order, but every once in a while she hulks out.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Or, I mean, like, I remember the funniest, I don't know why I thought it was funny, is that at Professor X's funeral, she was, like, the litigator.
Oh, shit.
all the superheroes basically use her as, like, their
lawyer.
yeah.
As opposed to Matt Murdock?
Well, he's busy.
Fair enough. But that'll be cool. I think that'll be cool. Like, at least they're playing with Hulk in whatever way they can.
I don't know what they'll do with her, but they've got so much time
Yeah.
to figure that out.
I think it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. So that's it in terms of the Marvel announcements that have come out from the past, the big ones. Now, I think it appears that those 3 shows are also a part of Phase 4. So I think that'll probably... So it looks like Phase 4 is going to take us from early next year to 2023.
Yeah.
So the next 3 years, roughly. It'll be interesting. Times they are changing in the MCU. That is for sure. Now, another thing what's that?
It just says Anthony Mackie confirms he won't be the new Captain
Yeah.
America.
That's what I read earlier.
Yeah.
Now another cool thing that came out. Have you heard about this trailer that came out for Star Wars? Maybe we shouldn't even talk about it because by the time this episode of the podcast gets released, I think the trailer will be online. Because I think the footage is coming out on Monday to the public.
Just talk about it.
It's well, I don't know much. All I know is that at some point, apparently, Rey looks like she's going to the dark side because she has a hood on and she has a double-sided red saber like Darth Maul did.
Well, they have to play with that because they're following for better. The first movie did it great. Force Awakens did it great, but the second movie fall through. I felt.
Yeah.
But they are following the original trilogy arc to a sense, and this is the movie when Luke, kind of, whether you think he did it for realsy or not, joins Vader. So it makes sense that she would in some way dabble in the dark side in this movie.
Yeah. Maybe that's true. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you remember the trailers for the first one, for Force Awakens especially, there were a lot of fake outs in those trailers.
Yeah.
So,
to be real honest, I'll see Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
I'll see it and I will be interested, but that's not the most interesting Star Wars comic or content that I think they're producing in the near future.
Oh yeah, what do you think is?
I was a huge fan of Clone Wars, and I
Yeah.
will always be. Clone Wars is a kid show. I know it's a kid show.
Well, it's a cartoon.
I started watching it
it's
when
a
I was...
cartoon, but it's canon.
The first couple seasons are definitely a kid show. I'd say the first
But it's
3.
it's canon though.
Yeah. Oh no, it's all canon.
It's literally like
It's one of the few
part of the
extended
films.
universes that kept after all of the shifting happened.
yeah.
But the weird thing about Clone Wars, when it was started back in 2008, it was a kid show made on Cartoon Network, and they were like, yeah, we're going to be a kid show. And then they kept getting threats that they'd be canceled, and every season they're like, we could end any moment. So they're like, screw it, let's be dark. So the last 3 seasons have some of the best animation you'll find, and they're just the craziest and amazing story arcs in Star Wars, in my opinion.
They are really good.
And they're making more of that. And they're making it on Disney Plus, and I honestly do think
Animated?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're making it for an audience that grew up with it, that's now probably in their late teens and early 20s.
Right.
Because they're like, that's who's gonna watch this.
Right.
And so it's going to be darker, and it all takes place before Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all before Order 66 and sort of a lead up onto that. And if you know anything about Mandalore and Darth Maul and his kind of story during that, that's what you want to watch. He's confirmed in the last season of this because they're making one last season on Disney Plus.
And we all saw Solo and how Darth Maul was in Solo at the end.
If you're a fan of the cartoons, you see Darth Maul die in Rebels. Star Wars Rebels, the cartoon.
Well, this is what makes those cartoons canon, is that we saw Darth Maul on screen with robot legs.
Yeah.
That happens for the first time ever in those cartoons.
Yeah.
So that's how it's confirmed canon. Now, did you hear about the other 2 things of Star Wars?
I saw the Mandalorian trailer.
So they're coming out with the Mandalorian, but did you hear the other thing? Kenobi starring Ewan McGregor.
Yes.
Confirmed to be taking place at the same time as Solo.
I did not know the timeline. So it's confirmed on Tatooine then.
Yep.
What is that movie? Just him crying in a hut?
It's a series.
It's a series? It's him crying.
And here's what
Every
I think
episode
they do.
just him being sad.
What I think they do is they do the fucking Clone Wars storyline with that final
with him meeting up
with Darth Maul for a rematch.
It was Star Wars Rebels, which was another series they did that wasn't as good, but it got better
Rebels,
in the end.
Yeah.
And we see Darth Maul die in Kenobi's arms.
Also canon.
Yes. And you think you want to redo that from Kenobi's perspective? Like all the lead up?
Well, I think that there is a story to tell, because what I was hoping to see was them not do another Solo movie, but them do a Kenobi movie and have it be a backdoor Solo 2. Because Kenobi and Solo meet up early on at some point for something. Isn't it in those cartoons?
No.
No?
No.
I thought they did in something
Kenobi
that was
shows up
canon.
once in the cartoon. And after Order 66, he shows up once. And it's only to the character that only exists in the cartoons. His name is Ezra. It's the only one that sees him in person.
Right. Doesn't he train her?
No.
Oh.
He just kind of shows up and is like, it's going to be fine.
Oh.
And then he leaves. And Darth Maul dies with him.
But anyway, I don't know. For some reason, I thought Kenobi and Solo met up for something. for some
They
reason.
could do it. Well, I don't know if they could because they're supposed to meet in New Hope.
Do they though?
Yeah.
Oh.
But either way, there's a lot they can do.
I just hope we get an Obi-Wan Darth Maul rematch. That's all I want. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because that was the greatest lightsaber fight on screen to this day in the movies.
Yeah, they could. I could see them doing like that scene again, but from Kenobi's perspective, and like have the lead up be from Kenobi. I don't know if they're gonna want to redo it because they already did it, or they could throw out Rebels and they could say not canon anymore and doing their own thing, which they have been known to do. But I don't know if they'll do that because
if they're making more. Too.
Rebels was produced by Disney,
and
so I don't know if Disney wants to throw out its own content.
And it's part of it. Yeah,
I was excited when they announced Kenobi series, but what I'm disappointed by is when it takes place, because I wanted prequel.
When?
Back before Anakin, when Obi-Wan was a Padawan to Qui-Gon, I wanted to see the Mandalorian arc then.
Well, maybe that's what they'll do.
Kenobi has this whole history where he spent supposedly at least a year, if not more, on Mandalore during the Mandalorian Civil War.
Well, then we'll probably see that in
Duchess
Mandalorian.
Satine. I think Mandalorian takes place after the OG trilogy.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know when any of them take place.
Because we see I saw the Mandalorian trailer, and in it we see stormtrooper helmets on spikes.
Yeah, that's true. The trailer looked pretty impressive in terms of production.
It looked beautiful.
Yeah.
Is that a movie?
No.
A series?
Yeah.
It looked beautiful. Disney. How much Disney Plus?
I think that's the first Disney Plus series. I think that comes out in November.
Service? Oh God.
Yeah.
Is this the death of Netflix?
Probably. Because now you can get that packaged in with like ESPN and Hulu for less than you can get Netflix.
It's the death of Netflix. Yeah. Goodbye, Netflix. You did well. You did well.
Oh, I mean, that I'll never forget. Daredevil, Punisher, and Stranger Things, and Mindhunter. Anyway, I'm sure all these things will get. No, they just got. You know, what Netflix just did was a massive fucking deal with the creators of Game of Thrones.
Are they making the new series? They got them.
They
for
got
what?
Nobody knows, but they got them. So they're just gonna let them play. I'm sure, do whatever they want to do, and they're gonna hope it does massive. Apparently, because it was like $1 billion
People bought
deal or
HBO for Game of Thrones.
Oh, 100%.
So I feel like if they were successful enough, that could happen.
But they were successful only when they had original material to base their shit off of. As soon as they had to come up with shit on their own,
we are not
talking
about the finale right now.
It's garbage.
That's not what we're doing
garbage,
right now.
Garbage,
That's
hot, dumpster fire.
Right,
you want to watch a dumpster fire? Watch a dragon burn down a city.
Are you gonna watch the prequel
pointlessly.
series?
Absolutely. There are stories there I want to know about.
I don't like that it's prequel.
If they do, I want to know. I just want them to tell the Mad King story. That's not lazy.
We know it.
Yeah, but I want to see it.
But here's the thing.
I think there's something there to see.
If I sat through the Mad King story, I would want it to tie into the White Walkers. I want it to be integral.
Yes.
But the White Walkers ending was so dissatisfying. It was so lame.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm like, this all leads up to that. I don't know if I would sit through that, to be honest with you. I would be
bad.
like, it's not going to matter, so why would I care?
That final season was so
I feel like that final season was a nail in the coffin for all prequel content they could do, because they can't really like lead up to with it and know it's satisfying, because that end was so dissatisfying.
That's a really good point, actually.
They should have kept going for the future.
Yeah.
What does the Seven Kingdoms look like in the Industrial Revolution?
Oh my god. But yeah, Mandalorian and Obi-Wan. Yeah, I think those are the
I know they're doing more. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll do more for sure.
I heard they're not making any more like trilogy movies for a while.
No.
They said now we're good for a while.
Episode 9 is going to be it for a long while, but we're going to get these shows and we're going to get Rian Johnson's trilogy. He's the one that made the last Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And he's getting, and a lot of people think that he planted the seeds to his series in that movie.
Do we know what his series is? Has that been announced?
No, it's just 3 movies is all we know. And a lot of people think it's and we know it has nothing to do with any of the characters we know. It's a whole new series in a different part of the galaxy having to do with Jedi.
Having to do with Jedi?
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe I've got some guesses.
But like, remember one of the last scenes in that movie where it was like the little kid on the random planet who force pulled a broom? It's like
they
that.
think it's gonna be that kid or something like that.
Stuff. Yeah.
I will say, Last Jedi, I was very dissatisfied with Last Jedi. I have a lot of complaints about it, but I will say if you were someone who watched the Clone Wars, and you know about the son and the daughter and the more like spiritual side of the Force that they do a really good job talking about in Rebels too. Last Jedi makes more sense, and that kid and his like sort of the imagery they put with him makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is that they're gonna do something along those lines with the father, the daughter, and the son.
Likely.
On Mortis.
Be interesting. I also there's even rumblings of a Knights of the Old Republic series, which is what a lot of people want. And that was a video game that it was very, very, very popular.
Yeah.
Probably the most popular Star Wars video game of all time, and it takes place before anybody we've ever heard of, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before. So that could be cool too. A lot of people want to see that.
I want them to redo the prequels.
That will never happen.
I know it's canon, but wouldn't it be nice if they made good prequel movies?
Somebody I heard. I was watching I think I was watching an episode of Fat Man Beyond, and they were talking about this, and somebody was like, "What if they bring back Hayden Christensen and Obi-Wan?"
No.
I was like, "Oh God, no." He was my least
Did you
favorite
ever
part.
see? There was this guy on YouTube. He's been on. I've seen this guy reappear on like How It Should Have Ended with like Nick Mundy on stuff. They're friends. They know each other.
Okay.
Or not How It Should Have Ended. Screen Junkies with Nick Mundy.
Oh yeah, I know
jazz.
Screen Junkies.
And I don't know how he's connected. If he's like helps run, I don't know. But I could look up his name later. But he did this 3-episode series on YouTube called How to Fix the Prequel Movies or something like that. And it was called like How to Fix a New Hope, How to Fix, and he basically rewrote the movies. And he did
A New Hope.
No, sorry, not a New Hope. Phantom Menace.
Okay.
And he rewrote the movies, and he did a beautiful job.
No.
And it makes you want them to redo those movies. So, like, it could be screenshots, like screen for screen what he says. Like, I could know everything that's gonna happen in those movies, and I would still go see them because the way he rewrote them was beautifully done.
Yeah.
Highly recommend checking out those videos.
I just really hope we get a real fucking lightsaber battle in the next movie. Like
I'll still say the scene in Last Jedi with Rey and Kylo back to back.
It was dope.
Such a good scene.
It was dope as fuck. It was just surrounded by crappy plot.
Almost makes up for Leia's force flying.
Oh my god. I literally I went, oh my god, that is this trilogy's Jar Jar moment. And it surprises me not more people bitch about that as much as they bitched about Jar Jar, because
Jar Jar was highly problematic.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing: is I saw episode 1 when I was 10, 11 years old in theaters, and I saw that movie in theaters over and over and over and over because I love Darth Maul so much.
Mm-hmm.
So Jar Jar, never, he was just there. It never stuck out to me as extraordinarily bad or extraordinarily good.
Yeah.
It was just there as comic relief. So, the hate that Jar Jar got, I never understood as a little kid when I first saw those movies coming out. All I knew was my love for Darth Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. So those, yeah. So in terms of people my age who saw those movies as kids, little bit of a different relationship with Jar Jar than people that saw the originals as kids. You know what I mean?
People who saw all of it later in life.
Later in life, like you. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's not that I'd never liked Jar Jar in particular, but I also didn't have a disdain for him. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly,
it was just overshadowed by how much I liked Darth Maul. That's all I cared about.
My only worry, and this is true for Marvel as they start doing these series, and this is true for Star Wars as they start their series with Disney Plus, is oversaturation. There is such thing as too much of a good thing. And I mean, I'm looking at this Marvel stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to watch all of these.
You will.
I don't know if I will.
What else is on?
Life.
Yeah, sure, but
But like this is a lot of content.
Not really. Not when you really can. Like
Yeah.
first of all, we don't know how many episodes these series are going to be. Probably 10 or less. Let's be real. It'll be shocking to me if they get actually 10 hours out of each one of these. It'll be shocking to me if it'll probably be 5 episodes, actually, if I had to guess right now. But maybe not. Maybe it'll be up to 10 episodes. And that's still 2 movies, so 2 hours long, and maybe 5 to 10 episodes a year? That's not that much.
I don't know.
That's really not that much.
I think that they got to be careful and I think that they've kind of written that in with like the Loki show and the What If show. Those aren't going to be shows, my guess, that you're going to need to see to understand the movies.
Definitely not What If, but probably maybe Loki.
Well, it's in a separate timeline. That's why
maybe.
I say that. Oh, anyway, but I think that they've kind of gotten to the point where they're like, some of these we get aren't going to be for everyone. And that has its strengths too, because then you can have more fun with your target audience.
Yeah.
But I think that that's some of the idea behind some of these.
Yeah. Just getting into different stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
But we'll see where they go with it.
Definitely.
Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I do have one final thing I wanted to talk to you about.
Let's hear.
And it's so ever since you and Dad got me into Doctor Who, like so as a kid, as a child, I fell in love with Batman and Spider-Man. But as a young adult at the time, because this was many years ago at this point, as a young adult, I fell in love with Doctor Who. Like, Doctor Who, to me, is probably the greatest sci-fi series ever on TV. Because it has every element of everything. And when it came back in 2005, from then till the second to last season of Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, right? Every episode up until the start of his last season was nothing but solid fucking gold. Like relentless brilliance in storytelling, acting, writing, everything. Just everything was just what it would. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons of nonstop brilliance. Absolutely. Art.
Come on, just say it.
I was gonna say
you don't like the new seasons.
No. That's not what I was gonna say. I was gonna say the only show I've ever watched that gets better with every season. Like the first season is okay. Turn back the clock 4 months, and this is what I was telling everyone I knew. The only show I've ever watched where the first season is the worst and the most recent season is by far the best is Game of Thrones. That's what I used to say before the last season. So now the first season is no longer the worst. Yes. Doctor Who, for its first 6 seasons, is an arguable comparison. And the reason why it's arguable is because, quite frankly, when it breaks it up into actual different doctors, it's sometimes hard to compare because of how damn good they can be. But yeah, Matt Smith's last season, when they started doing each episode was a standalone story as opposed to a long interweaving storyline. And then they continued that through Capaldi in the first season with Jodie? What's her name?
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker. Yeah, Whittaker. Yeah, that's what I thought. I just felt like it was wrong for some reason. That's the model they've continued with. And they were at their best when they had overarching story as opposed to standalone individual stories. Now, Matt Smith's last season was, to me, disappointing because of that fact. Capaldi, I felt like, was a great doctor who had to deal with terrible storytelling and writing. I don't feel like it was very good in his series at all. And then I only watched the first 2-3 episodes of Whittaker's first season, and then you watched the rest of it.
I watched all of it, one episode.
Where did it fall off for you? How do you feel about the new Doctor? What does it feel like for you being a female, having a female Doctor for the first time in history? What is all this for you?
I started watching Doctor Who when I was 9 years old.
Right.
This was a childhood show, and I watched it with my dad. That was like, we bonded over this, and then I bonded with you over this. And our other sister, who you've heard on the podcast before, always jokes she feels left out when we have these conversations.
That's because Katie's not a nerd.
Yeah, that's true.
And she was not expecting the nerds to take over
At
the world.
Catherine. Okay, anyway. So this is very sentimental to me, and I'll always be defensive of the show. I think it was really cool growing up watching it in recent history because we've seen it become popular. When I started watching, it was already pretty mainstream, but it wasn't where it is now.
Oh, no, yeah, exactly. Like, it's kind of amazing.
I think
it's something that you and I got to watch together explode in American culture. Like, before, I remember when I started going into places like Hot Topic and shit like that when I was a kid and started seeing Doctor Who merchandise and FYE and Best Buy and stuff like that. Like, it wasn't there before. Now it's here.
I think so. In the past probably 4 years, it's exploded.
No, I would go farther back than that. I would say when it was at its height, when you and I went and saw the 50th anniversary in theaters.
Okay, got you.
I would say that was the peak for me as a fan personally. That was the peak.
So I have a great love of this show, and I'll never not have great love of this show because of like the memories I have of it and stuff like that. And I agree. Even I loved Matt with a passion. He was the first Doctor I watched because that was the season.
Mine too.
I started with Matt, but my personal favorite has been and always will be David Tennant until proven otherwise. But it is today still David Tennant because I think he did the best job. Anyway, not the point. Just had to say that. I agree with you.
There you go.
So Matt, definitely his last season was weak. I think everyone agrees with that. And I
dinosaurs on a fucking spaceship.
I didn't hate the episodes like you did because you really had some vigor for some of those episodes. I never hated any of the episodes. I just thought they were weak. I thought they were like, it was like a whole season of like the worst of the filler episodes.
There was just no story. I was like, what is the point of any of this?
And it was, the story they had was really loose and it wasn't tied very well and it didn't have a great ending. But it was fine. You know, whatever. Stephen Moffat had been there for so many years and it was to the point where I think everyone was kind of agreed he's running out of steam. And that was taken to blame because we knew Matt could be a good doctor. That had been proven. So everyone was sort of like, Moffat's running out of steam. He's stepping in on a stone runner relatively soon. And he stayed for Capaldi. And that, I think I agree with you very well that Capaldi was a great doctor who suffered from some not great writing. I would argue Capaldi's second season is so much better than his first.
Really?
Noticeably better, yeah.
I don't remember much of it. Maybe I should check that out.
Capaldi's second season was definitely, they were like, the struggle of Capaldi is that he spent his full first season having an identity crisis because that's what the story demanded.
Yeah.
And Capaldi's second season, they basically told him, you don't have to deal with that anymore. Go live your life. I personally think they should have gotten rid of Clara, the companion, a lot sooner. I was never the biggest fan of her character, to be honest. I love Jenna Louise Coleman, but I was not I think that's her name. I hope that's her name.
liked her with Matt.
I just didn't
Not
think
as
she
much
was
with
the
Peter.
great companion that they were looking for there.
11 and 12.
And I was just waiting, kind of like, okay, can we move on from her? And they did move on, and Bill Potts would have been a fantastic companion had they given her more time.
Yeah.
Which was Capaldi's kind of last, like, half-season companion. She didn't get a lot of time.
Yeah.
I didn't love her season with Capaldi either. Capaldi's second season was his best work, because I think the writing let him have the most fun.
Okay.
If you can just watch the first couple episodes of his second season is him with the dialects, and he shows up in medieval Europe playing the electric guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And that was some great Doctor Who. Like, that's like peak Doctor. That's some shit like David and Matt would have pulled.
Yeah.
And that's why I liked it, because it felt familiar, and
Yeah.
it still felt Capaldi. But he suffered from a lot of bad writing, and that's how I know he could have been a good doctor, is those scenes like that.
Yeah.
I was like, he could have done great, but they didn't let him.
Yeah.
Jodie Whittaker. So they got a new showrunner, which I was super excited about. I was like, Stephen Moffat, you beautiful bastard. You've done great. You've served your time. It's time for you to go home.
He
walked
is a
away.
legend. He's a goddamn
And I will
legend
never
between
have any
Doctor Who and Sherlock.
malice for that man because he did great story writing, even if he wasn't great at the end.
If I ever have kids, those are stories that I'll pass on to my children. Like, those are some of the greatest stories ever told in our time between Sherlock and Doctor Who.
So they get this new story runner, and all I knew about him is that he'd work on Broadchurch with David and Jodie already.
He had worked on a few episodes of Doctor Who, but what I believe I brought this up to you once, what concerned me was none of those episodes. Those were particular episodes that I did not care for very much, were the ones that this guy had written.
I think so. This guy, I think, went wrong in two ways.
What's his name? Do you know
I
his
don't
name?
remember his name.
I'll look it up while you talk.
This guy went wrong in two ways, in my opinion, with his first season with Jodie. Because I think Jodie, you can't really figure out what kind of doctor you need to be until the story's written for you. And David and Matt got lucky because their first episodes, it was very clear what they were going to be. And it was going to be whimsical with a hint of I can end this. He's like, with a hint of like that kind of godlike madness. And I think Jodie never was given a chance to really do that with her seasons. So I think I'm going to edit what I said. I think he went wrong in three ways. One, he declared before the season had started no returning monsters, which was a dumb call. Doctor Who is all about the old and the new. It's time travel. They go back in time and they go to the future. And that means Christian Ball. Yeah. You can't declare the last something number of seasons to be non-existent and you're not bringing back any of those faces, because that's what a lot of people are there for. And that's what keeps people entertained and keeps it feeling like the same show. Mm-hmm. The problem with Jodie's season, it didn't feel like Doctor Who. It felt like an okay sci-fi show that maybe I would watch like a few episodes of, but it didn't feel like Doctor Who. And even when Matt's seasons weren't great, I watched it because it was Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I know this show. I'm going to keep with it. But Jodie's seasons didn't feel like that, and that was really frustrating. And also, listen, man, this show's been on for you and I started watching around 2005, and we've watched they're on 13 seasons now. This show's been on for 13 seasons. People have been here for 13 seasons. You need to respect those 13 seasons. Respect
Agreed.
The legacy that has been built in recent history. And that means bringing stuff back. That means poking fun at things. That means accepting the fact that this has history. I get you want to be new and you want to bring on your own thing. But he brought on new things that weren't good. Mm-hmm. Some of Matt's monsters were dumb. Mm-hmm. But they would still have new episodes with the old monsters that were fantastic, so we didn't care as much because we knew they were bad guys. I'm 100% sure they're going to bring returning villains on next season. I'll still watch the next season. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but I'll watch the first couple episodes. I might not watch all of it. The next problem I had with the show was that there were like 3 companions on the TARDIS.
That's what I was going to say. Is my problem with the first handful of episodes was it was all about the companions and not about the Doctor at all.
I'm not opposed. I know the very first season of Doctor Who, like back in the 70s, had 3 companions on the TARDIS. I understand that, and I get that's a legacy thing that some people were like excited about. I'm not opposed to them having that many, but you can't do that at Doctor's first season. Because we need to learn who she is. I watched that first season. I still don't know who the fuck she is.
Right.
And so I sat there and I was like, this is great.
So that never changed throughout the season? It stayed focused, centric on the companions?
I would say there was a huge focus on the companions throughout the entire season.
We don't have... We don't get any kind of Doctor backstory?
You get Doctor time, but not like you did with David and Matt. The best example I can think of as like the way you do it is David Tennant's second season, and it's like 3 episodes in, and he's with Martha, and it's the episode in New York.
Yeah.
And Martha, the episode ends with Martha pulling up a chair and being like, sit and tell me your history, because we can't keep going until you explain to me who you are. They needed that moment, and they never got it. Mm-hmm. Because the companions were like, yay, let's go. And I'm like, okay, no, that doesn't work. You need to reestablish who she is. You need to tell us. They changed so much in Capaldi's run of things and between Matt's run of things. You need to tell us how she feels about Gallifrey. Mm-hmm. Because that's a pivotal moment. The reason Doctor Who was good is because he had this past that he had to deal with. And now she has this past that she needs to deal with and confront. And she hasn't done that.
Yeah, like where the fuck even is Gallifrey at this point?
I think what they need to do is they need to get rid of Graham and the other guy and just keep Yaz. Because Yaz is the most interesting of those 3 companions, and they've done the most episodes with her. They
Okay.
did a really fantastic episode called the Devil or the Demon of something, and it was about the partition of India. And then they did another good episode with Yaz where she was like at home with her family, and they were like checking it. And they've had the most focus on her. They've learned the most about her. Keep her, get rid of the other two. I don't care about the other two. I have zero. They tried to make us care so much about the other two. I don't care.
Fair enough.
And my last critique with his show that goes with the other things he's done is that he tried to make it so dark. And I don't just mean in content-wise. I mean literally the first episode, I wanted to turn up the brightness on my screen. Like in every sense of the word dark. And I get that they're trying to, like, she's been playing a very cheery doctor. So they feel like the content of the story needs to go into a dark place. That's not true. Matt Smith, some of the greatest moments in Matt Smith and David Tennant's run, and even Eccleston's run, which was the darkest of those three, I would argue, was when it was a very cheery kind of scenario that was kind of eerie, like a kind of creepy factor, and it was the doctor that went dark. By making the surroundings dark, you force Jodie Whittaker's doctor to always be on the cheery kind of goofy side, and that's great for like 75% of the episode. But if we're never going to see this hint of like the appealing part of the doctor is that they are mad, fundamentally a mad character. And so if we're never going to see this hint of this mad Time Lord that is, while capable of saving the earth and doing these brilliant things, is also the person who shouted Time Lord victorious in the streets to an ood and always has the possibility to become what the master is, then you take away the intrigue of that character. And they haven't given her a chance to do that. And I don't want to write Jodie Whittaker out because I don't think I've seen what she can do. Because they haven't given her they've made her a static character. They've made her one thing that she has to be every episode, and it's boring as hell. And so they have a lot of work to do to save this and to save her doctorship. As a female doctor, she got a lot of press for this, and a lot of people were upset and a lot of people were happy. Where I stand on this, someone who's watched the show since I was a kid and have loved the show. I mean, for a while I wanted to be an archaeologist because River Song was my idol. And I was like, in fairness, I didn't really care much about archaeology. I wanted to time travel and to like fight, aliens. But like that was a definite thing in my childhood. I remember like being like, damn, she's so cool. I want to be her. I think it's awesome that they're like, that they're doing this. But I'm one of the people that don't do this to give people a role model. Do this because it makes sense for the character. Because there's so many powerful female role models in Doctor Who already. They don't need to check that box. That's not why that box should be checked. Cast Jodie Whittaker because she's going to do an amazing job. And if she's a good role model, that's great. But cast the right character, because what they did now is that they let her be, I feel like they've almost done a disservice to her, like everyone in that sense, because they let her fill in this role model kind of hole, but makes her character awful. No one's going to want to look up to a character that's not interesting. And they haven't made her an interesting character. And so I feel like you can't count the chicken before the egg. If you want a character that's going to be a good role model, fantastic, but you have to make them a good character first. And they didn't let her do that. I feel like they almost were like, we're going to cast her, so it's going to be great, so we don't have to worry about this. And we don't have to like focus on her because she's new and exciting. But you have to make her character new and exciting, because her, by being virtue of a woman, isn't that. And so that was my kind of altogether complaints with the new season. I'm still going to watch the next season, or at least the first couple episodes, and see how it goes. And I hope it's better, because I think they got a lot of bad backlash. Watch Mojo did a top 10 things we would improve for the next season of Doctor Who, which I don't think they've ever done before, which is hella backhanded.
I didn't see that. I'll have to check that out.
We'll see where they go with it.
That is a great take. I think you hit it on the head there. Like I will go back and watch that season, finish the Whittaker season. But yeah, I think the show suffers when it ignores its past and it does not have an overarching storyline that it's touching on even faintly.
Just go back to Gallifrey.
Give me more Gallifrey. Give me,
I mean, you know what they could do to save the next season? Next season, she pulls up to Earth. There's some major problem. She has to get help from UNIT. And who shows up? Martha Jones. Boom.
I mean, yeah.
Boom, the season's better.
Yes, 100%. The season is immediately better at that point. Agreed. And then, there's there's so much there's so much they have to play with that they could do to make it better. So, I mean, she's obviously going to interact with Daleks, you know. Did she even meet them in the first season?
No, they
So
haven't.
this doctor
I
has
think
not
she
yet met a Dalek?
No, she met them at some point. I think maybe in the Christmas episode.
Huh.
Let me look it up.
I'll have to watch it.
She's definitely interacted with them already.
All right.
I'm pretty sure, like 98% sure.
Because, yeah, I think, like, I like her as the doctor. Like, I think she has, yeah, from what I saw in the first few episodes, you're right. I think she has what it takes to be a good doctor. I don't think they're writing the part for her. Like, it's just not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so they didn't do a Christmas episode this year. Correction, they did a New Year's Day episode. And they did, the Daleks were in that episode, I recall.
And is there
And
any information on when...
I've heard rumors that, I just saw some articles about this, that she was actually the one pushing for them to come back. Like
God
her,
damn right,
that actress.
Jesus. Is there any information on when it might start up again?
Would it be series 14?
I think. Something like that.
I can look it up right now.
This is the 13th Doctor, right?
It depends on how you count.
Yeah, technically, yeah. It could be looked at as like the 12th, the 13th, or the 14th, really. Depending on...
So the problem is that when Doctor Who, there's technically 2 season 14s because of the 70s. So when you look it up, they're like 1976.
Right.
And I'm like, not it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I don't know. I haven't heard it, but like I know that season came out last year. There has not been any Doctor Who this year at all, except for the New Year's Day episode.
So it looks like they were expecting to start shooting in early 2019.
So earlier this year to start shooting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know when that release date is supposed to be. I'm not seeing one immediately pop up.
If I had to guess...
returns 2020.
So either, usually they release in the fall, but maybe they'll change it up and release in the spring.
They'll probably change it up. There'll probably be a New Year's episode because that's a tradition. They wouldn't miss that.
Or a Christmas episode.
They're doing New Year's now.
Well, they might switch back.
I didn't have a problem with that.
I have a giant problem
I was like, okay, I don't care. Like, I don't care as long as one comes out.
I have a giant problem with it because I liked watching a new episode of Doctor Who on Christmas. To me, for like a few years there, it became part of the Christmas tradition, and I really enjoyed it. So it bummed me out when it stopped, fuckers. But okay, that was fantastic. No, I just wanted to get your take on the new Doctor Who because it's something that, yeah, like you said, it's something that you and I personally, I don't have anyone else in my life at all, really, to talk to about Doctor Who like you. I don't know anybody else that's as into it as I am, as much as you are. So, yeah, it's something I wanted to talk to you about since with the, all the recent changes and how there seems to be a bit of a hiatus right now because we're having nothing this year, at least announced yet. So, yeah, I just wanted to get your take on that. So
we'll see what the future holds.
Well, and I'm sure it'll hold plenty of good and plenty of bad. So we'll just... Who knows? Same with all of this. But what a fucking time to be alive, goddammit. Like, we get fucking A. All this fucking Marvel content, all the Star Wars content, Doctor Who content. Got a new Ghostbusters coming out next year. We got a new Godzilla vs. King Kong coming out next. Like, unbelievable. Like, this is... Jesus Christ. Joker movie coming out in October. That'll be interesting. Looking forward to that. Yeah. It's just... Damn.
Yeah.
Right? Like, damn. Crazy. Crazy. Fucking awesome. If you're a fan of this shit, it is the golden age. There has never been a time like this.
It is a lot.
It is the golden age. So, hopefully it keeps going for a little while longer. But all right, I guess let's wrap this one up. Any final thoughts?
Nah. I've said everything I need to say.
Fair enough, and you've done a great job. That was excellent. I guess, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, iTunes, podcasts. Yeah, those are all our main ones. And if we fucked anything up tonight, if you have any insights about what might be coming in the MCU or the Star Wars universe or any Doctor Who universe or anything like that, reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, or lostinthedarkpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Also,
troll us.
Also, October is coming very soon. And all October, we will be doing paranormal related episodes. I have someone lined up to come back on the podcast, a returning guest, to talk about some ghosts. I will have a new guest that month to talk about some paranormal related things. We're going to be getting into it this October. So if you have any paranormal stories, if you have any ghost stories, if you have any Dogman, Bigfoot, UFO, whatever the fuck stories that you want to share with us or want to be shared on the podcast, reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, or lostinthedarkpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you because I want to believe. X-Files. That's the show you never watched, right? You haven't seen X-Files yet?
Nope.
Oh, Grace.
That's gonna be a pass for me.
It's
not who I am.
I get it.
I have enough on my plate.
I just love it so fucking much. Oh, I love the X-Files.
You have that, I have Star Trek.
Hey, I loved Next Generation. I watched Next Generation new episodes. That's what me and Dad bonded over when I was that old. He would make me watch Next Gen every week with Geordi and Captain Picard. I liked Geordi because he was on Reading Rainbow. And I liked Reading Rainbow.
And with Reading Rainbow.
At that age. Loved Reading Rainbow. Yeah, that's going to be it. So reach out to us if you got anything. Follow us on anything. If you like what you hear, thank you so much for listening, everyone, tonight. I cannot thank you enough for listening. Raise your horns, bang your head. I love you all to death. Good night.